Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is CCNA Day 28. I'm just going to give you an overview of access control lists in this video. Later we are going to talk about access control lists a little bit more. So first of all, let's see what access control list is, how we can use it in our network, and after that I'm just going to get to the depth of the access control list. I'm just going to show you how we can use this. Access control lists are used in different places. Well, I can tell you that this is used to control traffic in one of the usages, of course, but there are some other usages, such as using them inside, let's say, route maps, using them inside policy maps and stuff like that. All of them use access control lists for different purposes. And also, you should know that access control lists have different flavors, which we are going to check them all later. Okay, the first thing that you need to know is if you want to use this access control list for your security is not something very simple that you can apply to the whole network. This is a layered approach. You go for, let's say, outer network, then your DMZ network, then your internal network. Most of the time, you're going to use access control lists in your internal routers and in your layer 3 switches. These are the places that you can apply these access control lists to make sure that some place can reach to some place, something like that. If you want to control every traffic with access control lists, that's going to be kind of impossible. You cannot really apply thousands of access control lists in your network. What happens is the management of that is going to be super hard. This is why we have devices like firewall inside our network, and most of the things are going to be done in that part of the network. Okay, so what is access control list? It has a series of permits and denies, right? So we have, of course, there are some other things like remarks, which means that we can have some kind of comments in our access control list, but the core of access control list is permitting and denying. So I permit some traffic to go through this interface. I deny the rest of the traffic. Now, you should know that this is a top-down approach. So we can have multiple entries inside an access control list. So let's just go with that. Let's say I have an interface, interface like this, and this interface is going to have an access control list on that. The access control list is either inbound or outbound. We're going to check this later. But what is happening is, based on this access control list, I can tell, for example, permit this thing, this kind of a traffic. Then I'm going to say permit this kind of a traffic. Then I'm just going to say, let's say, deny this kind of a traffic, and then permit this kind of traffic. And then in the end, I can have something like a permit anything else, or I can tell deny anything else. Okay, so this last line is very important. If you do not add it, this is the default. So if I have an access control list, there is always one line that you can add, or you can just trust the access control list to have that line, and that is deny everything else. Sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you want to say, okay, I want to permit something, so I want to have a permit any Indian. If you do not do that, this is going to be applied, or either you can do it yourself, but if you do not do this, this is going to be there all the time. So that is called an implicit deny. Oh, that was not a good one, of course. An implicit deny at the end of everything that you have in your network. So the top-down approach says, I'm going to start from the top line and process the traffic based on what I see in here. Say, for example, I have a traffic that goes from 1, 2, 3, 0 to, let's say, 10, 10, 10, 0. Okay, so I can select the type of access list. Some type of accesses only check the source. Some type of accesses check the source and the destination and the type of traffic and a lot of different things at the same time. But the one that goes from the source The one that checks only the source is called a standard access list. The one that checks everything is called extended access list. Okay, so let's say, for example, I want to make sure that this kind of traffic doesn't go through. So if the first line has some kind of an entry that matches this type of a traffic, the access control list is going to see that, it's going to process it, and it's going to stop right there because I have found the match, right? So as soon as I find the match, that's going to be those. If the first line is not a match, then I'm just going to go to the second line. If the second line is not a match, I'm going to go to the third line. And if the third line, for example, is a match, that's it. I'm not going to process fourth or fifth line. If it is not, I'm just going to go to the next line. And then if there is nothing, the last line is going to be here. Either the last line is permit or is going to be denied. Deny everything that is here. So the type of traffic should match one of the rules that I have in here. Otherwise, it's going to hit the last line. Either I have a last line or the last line is the implicit deny that we have not put it there. And that's going to, do everything for us. So be very careful about how you organize your access control list. I'm going to give you one tip actually. So what you do is the first line is going to be the most specific entries, and it goes to the like most general one. So sorry for my handwriting. So what we have here is the most specific ones are going to be in the beginning and the most general ones are going to be in the end. So you should organize your access list based on this rule that we have in here. So we have inbound and outbound. Like I said, I can have this inbound and outbound. So say, for example, I have this router here, and let's say another router here, and these are connected like this, and there are some other interfaces like that connected to these routers. What is important is this. If I want to apply an access list on this specific interface, I can tell this is going to be, applied to the traffic that I am receiving or the traffic that I am sending. Most of the time, inbound is going to be more prevalent as a matter of fact, but this doesn't really matter. What matters is I am just selecting what type of traffic, inbound traffic or outbound traffic is going to be selected. Now, inbound traffic means I am going to check this before routing this traffic towards the end. So I'm just going to check it. If some part of the traffic should be dropped, I'm going to drop it right now. And the rest of the traffic which is permitted, I'm just going to route it towards the destination. Now, outbound traffic says, okay, I have routed the traffic. I have already, let's say, for example, this is my routing, let's say, engine in here, okay? So you can see that inbound traffic has not even entered the router to go towards the routing engine. But the outbound traffic has already come in. And now when it has been gone through the routing engine and then out of this, I'm just going to, send it to the destination. So outbound traffic has been routed first. Then we are checking the traffic to see if we are going to drop some part of it or not. So we can have only one access list for inbound traffic, one access list for outbound traffic. So we cannot really add multiple access control lists, multiple ACLs or ACL as some people call it, to an interface. Only one outbound, one inbound. If you want to add another one, the previous one is going to be deleted and the new one is going to be added. This is a source of confusion for a lot of engineers, and this is of course a source of problems that you need to troubleshoot later. So be very careful about this kind of a thing. Now, access control lists have multiple types. I'm just going to give you two different categories, and interestingly, you can just go both ways. You can say access control lists have standard and extended, and standards could have named and numbered, and extended could have named and numbered. Or you can say I have named access lists and numbered access lists, and they have standard and extended. So you can see that both ways work. Okay, so what is the difference between standard and extended? Standard just matches the source of the traffic. This is very simple type of access list, and you can use it for a lot of different purposes. That's very interesting and useful. Extended, of course, is going to be more featureful. So you can check different things when you want to use extended. You can check source and the destination and the type of traffic and the port numbers and even time ranges and stuff like that. The different things could be checked with extended access list. So extended access list is going to be kind of a pro version of the access list. The standard version is going to be a simple one, right? So which one do you want to use? This is very much based on what you want to do. Now, numbered access lists have some numbers in front of them. So for example, you say I am kind of configuring something like access list, and instead of giving it a name, I'm just giving it a number, like access list number 1. If it is 100 and above, that's going to be an extended access list. So based on the number that you're putting in here, you are going to decide what type of access list you are going to have. Now, the named access lists are going to be much easier to write. You just say, I am writing an access list standard, or writing an access list extended. So based on the keyword, you can easily understand this to use what type of an access list. You don't really have to memorize the numbers to know what type of access list you are checking in here. Also, when you see the names are much more descriptive. So when you see access list number 1, you need to remember it, or you need to refer to the documentation to understand what is this access list 1 used for, right? But when you see a named access list, you can easily tell, okay, based on the name is stop traffic from loopback 0. Oh, okay, so I can easily understand this is traffic from loopback 0 should be stopped. Okay, so you don't really have to refer to the documentation if there is something. You can say, okay, based on the access list, standard or extended, I can just make some comments inside the access list. And I really encourage you to do that, because when you have some comments, the access list tells you what this is going to do, and based on the remarks that, of course, you put in here. But again, the name is something that you always see that, and it should be very descriptive, so be very careful about what type of naming you want to have inside your access list. The other thing is, when you configure access list, you have something that we call it a wildcard. When you do this, most of the time you say, for example, I want any traffic that comes from network 1230, and then you can tell something like 0000255 towards whatever that we have in here. Maybe the second part is going to have another wildcard mask. I have already told you what wildcard mask is in previous videos. I have spoken about this in detail. Very simple solution for that is you just add this to your first network, and then you're going to have a range of IP addresses. For example, in this case, that's going to be from 1230 up to 123255, which means that this range of IP addresses are going to match this access list. But again, you have this rule that I told you. Zeros are going to match, 255s are going to ignore, something like that. You can see that in this case, from 0 to 255, this 255, I'm just saying that ignore 255, 255 addresses from this specific network, something like this. They can just go through. There is no problem with that. So, like I said, I have spoken about this. You already know about wildcard mask, so I'm not going to just go through that. But the syntax, of course, is going to be important. Like I said, I'm just going to speak about this in later videos, but the syntax, I'm just going to show it in here. Configuration is going to be for the next video. I have something like this. I go to global configuration. In global configuration, I start with the keyword access list, and for numbered, I'm just going to specify a number in front of that. So, like I said, from 1 to 100, actually not 100 itself, but from 1 to 100, I will say, is for standard access list. Anything beyond 100 is going to be extended access list. And also there is an extra range for the standard access list in case you have more than almost 100 access lists for your standard choices. Most of the time this is not going to happen. How many access lists do you want to have in a router? First of all, this is not practical. Management is very hard. Also, if you have so many access lists in your network, then probably your design is not very great, right? So again, if you want to use some other numbers from this range, you can have another range here for your standard access list, right? So I'm going to say access list 1, for example. When writing an access list, you need to be very careful not to overwrite another access list. So there is no double check, there is no warning. It is not going to tell you that there is already some access list in here. Whatever you write here is going to either overwrite or be appended to a previous access list. I'm going to show you this in more detail when showing you configuration. But anyway, I just first of all say do show access list or show access list or something like that, and then I can tell, okay, there is access list 1 here, so I'm not going to write this one. Or if I want to write it, I just check it. Maybe I want to append, or maybe I want to remove some of the lines. This is something that is called editing access list. We're going to see that later. So let's say that we don't have any access list 1. I'm going to write access list 1, and after that I can say, for example, permit let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 0, 0, 0, 2, 5, 5. You can see that that's all. I don't have anything else. If I do not add any extra line, you have an implicit deny in the end. This means that you have something which is called access, even if you do not write it, this is going to be always there. Access list 1, deny any, which means that in the end, the most general line is denying everything else, everything that has not been matched in this lines that we have added to the access list. Okay, so the second line could be, for example, access list 1 permit some other network. Let's say, for example, access list 1 permit, let's say 1, 2, 4, 0. This one should be 0 actually. 0, 0, 0, 2, 5, 5, and then I'm just going to add another one. Maybe I want to deny some specific thing, but if I go down, let's say for example the next one is going to be access list 1 permit, I don't know, 1, 3, 0, 0. You can see that this is a little bit more general than the other one. 0, 0, 2, 5, 5, 2, 5, 5. And then in the end, I have this access list 1 deny any. Maybe I want to write an access list to deny a specific thing. For example, I say, okay, access list 2, I'm going to deny, let's say, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, 5, 5, 2, 5, 5. And then in the end, after writing some more lines, I'm just going to say access list 2 permit any. So this permit any means that any traffic that is not denied already is going to be permitted. I have to write this permit any. This permit any is not something implicit. If I do not specify that, the rest of that is going to be denied. So everything is going to be denied. So be very careful about this. And like I said, we are going to check this in later videos. So where to place standard access lists? This is very, very important. I would say access lists, just check the source. Because they check the source, you cannot place it everywhere in the network. The best place in the network is going to be closest to the destination. So maybe in the destination router is going to be a good place to place a standard access list. So but again, this is some tip for you if you have to, use a standard access list, because like I said, extended is going to be more featureful and it's going to give you more resilience. But if you have to, then be careful about the placement of your access list. Also, we are going to see that accesses are going to be there for your management network. your management network is going to be the network, the connection to the router itself, to the switch itself maybe. So in that case, you want to place an access list in your console line or on your VTY line. VTY lines, for example, are used for SSH connection, telnet connection, and other types of connection. Console line, the direct connection to your network. So you might have an let's say out of band management, let's say for example the console network, or you might want to have some kind of an in-band management, for example a specific VLAN that you have in your network for your let's say management connections like telnet, SSH. Telnet is not secure actually, SSH is better. And then you might want to make sure that some specific IP addresses are allowed, some specific IP addresses are not allowed. In that case, we can write this for our network in this fashion. So what we have here is we spoke about the usage of access list, where to apply it, and how we can just lock VTY. In the next video, I'm just going to speak about extended access list a little bit more, and then I'm just going to show you how we can write an access list and also remove or edit it. So again, thanks for watching. As usual, please like and subscribe to the channel, and also drop your questions or any comments in the comments section. See you in later videos.